Hey, I'm Obi, that's Ed, and we are drinking from the Garden Hose, your favorite podcast. Get us wherever you get your favorite podcast. Ed and I have actually planned for today's show. I know some people don't like that, but we do have some sort of an agenda. Before we get to that, Ed, how are you?
Doing great. And I was going to say that you took my line. Like, we actually prepared. But here's the thing: if you're listening right now and you're like, "Oh, I hate when those guys prepare," don't get too upset
No,
because our preparing isn't real preparing.
we're not that prepared. And before we get into our pre-designed topic, which if we skip, well whatever. So, Ed, Sam got her driver's license. Congratulations to you more than her. I know that was more important to you than to her.
Actually, that comment you made was like kind of bullshit because it's not true.
It's not.
It's not because if it was really about me, she would have had the license when she was still 16, not a week before she turns 18.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I think that's proof it wasn't about me. I've been driving her to school, basketball. I've been driving her for an extra year and a half, if you think about it. So if it
Yeah,
was
my
about
comment was you finally had enough. That's what I was saying. It's over. You're done with
no,
basketball.
no,
No, okay. So
no,
I got a funny
you,
driving story to tell you though.
I can't wait. But I got to tell you one thing about the pushover that I am to prove that it's not about me. I actually bought an extra car 6 months ago so she could get the license. And I sat around just making car payments on a car that sat in the driveway. So I wasn't pushing it that hard. Trust me.
Okay. All right. Well then to Sam, I apologize to you. Congratulations on earning your license.
But most importantly, Obi, most importantly,
Getting your ears pierced again.
well,
No.
no, I mean, she did that on her own, which was really interesting because she had to wait till basketball is over because you can't wear them in a game. So you, I'm like, Sam, there was no time in the last like 4 years that you could have re-pierced them. She's like, no, I had AU. I'm like, all right, good point. But here's the thing. She passed the test on the first try, Obi. Now, that's not because she's been practicing for 2.5 years, right? Because the reason it took her 2.5 years to get, or 2 years to get, is she wasn't practicing that much. I just think I'm most proud first time. It's a Philip thing. I passed first time, kind of a thing, But I think the craziest thing about her passing on the first time, and I know you have a driving story you want to tell, but I gotta tell this part because this is classic me. The DMV here in Connecticut has some stupid COVID rule. Now, COVID started 3 years ago. They have a rule that parents can't wait inside the DMV when their child is taking the road test. You got to wait outside. It's winter. It's cold out, and there's no benches out there. And this guy tells me as I'm trying to sit inside, no, there's plenty of seats inside. He goes, Dad, you got to be outside. Rudely. So of course I snap and I say, it's cold out. And he goes, well, then go in the foyer. I go, is there heat in there? And as I said that, I saw the look of fear on my daughter's face. Like, Dad, you're going to fight this guy and I'm going to fail. So I quickly shut up and just went into the foyer like a loser. And she passed. So
Well, I'm glad you didn't step on that dream either. So, as you
I
know,
almost did. I almost was going to go after the guy, I tell you.
so I'm impressed that she passed in the first time. As you probably remember, my Sam did not, although he took his test in a place that was renowned for failing people on the first time. Even the second time, people would intentionally take their kids an extra 25 miles out of the way so they didn't have to test there. Alex, on the other hand, passed right away. Sunday night. Sunday night. So, the day before you posted about Sam, my wife's like, where's Alex? She looks on the phone. Why is he on such and such street? I'm like, he's driving somebody home. Okay. My phone doesn't ring, 3 minutes later, and I know exactly what's going on when that phone rings. Dad, I hit a car. What do I do?
Oh, shit.
So he tells me he backed into a car, he dented it, but it's his friend Jimmy's father's car. He's trying to, what does he do? What does he do? So like he stays there. I show up eventually just to help hold his hand because apparently he needs it. And when I get there, I noticed he didn't back up into his friend Jimmy's car. Like he did. He backed up into Jimmy's car, and there's like the kind of dent which shows that it was like a slow push. Like he didn't go fast. You could tell. But the car next to Jimmy's father's car has its entire front side taken out. The front, the fenders off the front quarter panel.
And he didn't mention that to you.
He didn't notice it. Because I'm like, did you hit the white car or the gray car? Because I didn't even see the white car having. It's like the white car, the white. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, look at the gray car. He goes, I think I must hit that one too. So yeah, my son took out 2 automobiles.
And I'm assuming there was damage to your car as well.
Minor damage. He must have really been going like his foot must have been like basically not on the gas and just the car, backing up on its own and him not even realizing what he was doing.
So because were these other cars parked?
Both other cars were parked. He hit 2 parked cars.
So did you have to leave notes, or were they around? What'd you have to do?
So, well, that's what he didn't know what to do. So he had tried his friend Jimmy's house. His friend Jimmy didn't answer, and he was just like, So that's why we showed up. So we tried Jimmy's house again. Jimmy didn't answer. We're like, is this other car Jimmy's car? I don't know. We get ready, get out the pad to start writing notes because it's like 9:30 at night, and we are, giving our best effort. Knocking on the door. He texted his friend Jimmy like, yo, dude, come outside. And some dude comes out smoking a cigarette across the street. Kind of watching, and I'm like, yo, I know this car belongs to Jimmy's parents. I don't even know if the guy knows who Jimmy is, right? At that house, but this other car is that he's like, oh no, that's the other house. So we send Alex to that house, and they answer the door, and they come out, and then general whatever's supposed to happen from there. So yeah, it was great.
So here's the thing. So I have stories about doing this same stupid shit, right? But my stories always involve me having to do it myself. Like the time I hit the tree in that front yard, I had to go knock on the door and tell the woman I just killed her tree. Like Alex, he just gets out of it. He calls you and you show up. And it sounds like you made him go to the other house, but you're kind of there watching him.
I was there watching him because he was, absolutely. I was there. Helicopter parenting on behest of the chief helicopter in chief made me go.
Well, and she stayed home. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not so bad that you were there. I understand. I would go too if I was called. It's actually it's worse for Alex because here in 30 years when he starts his own podcast, being old and grumpy, he's going to have to man up and go, dude, I hit a car, but I had to call my dad.
Yeah, for him it is. Now the best part, he was so scared, and then when he went to the strangers, the first guy comes out, talks to him, he said, "Okay, this is not so bad." But then the guy whose car he actually hit comes out, and that dude starts freaking out. Which was a good thing I was there because at that point I was just like, I went to the other dude who wasn't freaking out, whose car it was. I'm like, yeah, he's so scared, and just like tell your brother to calm down. And he kind of took care of his brother. Both of those guys were my age. But he was still kind of nervous. And finally, his friend Jimmy comes out. And his friend Jimmy did exactly what your friend Jimmy's supposed to do. From the moment he saw the accident to the moment we left, this kid nonstop busting Alex's balls.
That's what he should do.
That's what he should do. And for all those people, bully, this set Alex straight. Like, it relaxed Alex so much because it became such a normal thing. Like, yeah, Jimmy's out here busting him up. Hey, it's impressive. You hit 2 cars. You need to be. You should be practicing more. Or you're trying to parallel park, like just going off nonstop. It was great. It was great. So thank you, Jimmy, for lightening the mood in the way you're supposed to lighten the mood between 2 guy friends.
Yeah, and, unfortunately for Alex, when he knocked on the door, the wife didn't answer because you always want the wife. They always feel bad. They always let you off. At least in my experience, the wife always let me off. I know the dad or the husband would have been pissed, right? And so it sounds like you got the good brother, but unfortunately the bad brother was also home. Like if the bad brother wasn't home, that's kind of how you get off.
Well, if the bad brother wasn't home, his car wouldn't have been there because he was there.
That's a good point, Obi. Good point. I thought of that too.
What?
I thought of that after I said it, but good point for bringing it up.
But he could, right? He was visiting, and there was no way the bad brother would have answered the phone door in this scenario. But the other thing is, so Jimmy goes, I don't care you hit my car. I hate this car. But wait till my dad comes out. He's going to be fuming. So the dad comes out. Now, Jimmy's the youngest of 4. The dad comes out and he's like, whatever, it'll be all right. No one got hurt. And I'm thinking, yeah, you got three other kids. All of them have been in accidents. So you're just like, yeah, you got insurance. All right, life goes on.
Yeah, yeah. Now I wonder how much your insurance is going to go up.
Yeah, especially since it's not going to be no fault. The guy, the insurance company called today. It's like, oh, you're going to pay for their cars? I'm definitely not fixing my car then.
Yeah, I would that's the thing. That's where my mind goes. If I get that call and once I know everyone's okay, I'm gonna be like, son of a bitch, how much is this gonna cost me?
Yeah, Sammy's accident, when he got his accident, the car he hit had no damage. My car had some fender damage, or I should say, at Sammy's car. I was like, yep, you're the one who has to drive the car. Congratulations, you're driving a hoopty mobile. You're supposed, you're supposed to. You're not. You haven't graduated college yet. There should be some dents and dings on that thing.
Yeah, that's the downside of having your kids have a license. The upside though is today so Sam didn't have a pass to park at the school. You have to get a pass to park at the school
Right.
because she just got the license yesterday. So today was the last day I had to drive her to school and pick her up. So I pick her up from school and we're driving back and just the way it worked, by the time I picked her up, I had a meeting like I had to jump on a Zoom like 15 minutes later. So we're like hungry. It's like 1:30. He's hungry. So I'm like, what do you want for lunch? Oh, my Alex isn't home. Let's wait till she's home. I'm like, yeah, but that's going to be my meeting. Because I'm thinking old school, like I'm the one that has to go get the goddamn lunch, right? And then all of a sudden, Sam looks at me, she goes, I can go get lunch. I'm like, that's right, you can. So she went out and got lunch for me today while I was in a meeting. So I think this could have benefits, that I haven't even thought about.
Those benefits start to, yes, those little things, those little. I, I mean, the biggest one for Alex is, all right, here's the list. Go to the grocery store. Just go. Get out of my house. Go to the grocery store.
What is the accuracy rate on that grocery list when he comes home?
It's pretty high because for the most part, the grocery shopping he does is the stuff we didn't get for him.
Okay, so he's motivated to get it.
Yeah, so we go to a few different grocery stores and get different things at different places, and most of the for Alex only stuff is at the closest grocery store. That doesn't mean like I don't say, and we need a dozen eggs and whatever, but it's like the cold cuts that he wants and the bread that he wants and get me, some cheese, whatever, like it's that grocery store. When he gets that list, it's usually we didn't get to the shop right, and that's where your stuff is. So go get some stuff. Yeah.
That's a good tip because I know for a fact when I was growing up, and my mom will definitely appreciate this. I used to screw shit up on purpose because my whole thought process was, and maybe it wasn't conscious, but either way, if you screw shit up, people aren't going to ask you to keep doing it.
Yes, and yeah, we don't let Alex get away with that. He used to get away with that, and Sammy probably still does get away with that. But Alex is like, okay, well, go again. What? Yeah, Alex is kind of stubborn, so he's got that problem going.
Yeah, my parents wouldn't let me get away with it either. I used to have to do shit twice.
Yeah,
or three times.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, there was a time my mother told me I need you to take the clothes out of the washer and put them in the dryer. And I shit you not, I took them out of the washer and I put them in the dryer. And that's where that process ended. She never told me to turn them on.
Right.
So I assumed she would think I was a loser and I couldn't be trusted to do that process again. No, I still had to do it.
So then she told you put him in the washer and start the washer, and then put him in the wash. Then take him out of the washer, put him in the dryer, and start the dryer. Oh, and by the way, while you're there, load another load in the washer, which I didn't ask you to do last time. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned, and then so you learn like you're gonna do more if you don't do it right the first time. The big saying, right? If you don't have time to do it right the first time, how the hell are you gonna have time to do it second time?
Yeah, exactly. Because right. The second time is always harder for those people who know that saying.
That's right. So Obi, that's a great story. Takes me down memory lane from the time I hit that woman's tree and she told me don't worry about it, and I know the husband was pissed about that. So, but we have this list of Gen X movies.
Yes, we do.
That define Gen Xers. And I know I sent it to you just as a joke. And you said to me, that you kind of didn't agree with the list. First of all, I think you said we should talk about it. So you want to run through the list? How do you want to go about this? You want
So
to?
what I thought is the way to do this, unfortunately, it's going to take a few seconds between each movie, is to first just go through the list from 15 to 1 without, just for people to listen to and hear what it is, without saying too much about any of the movies. And then we could each pick one or two that we think totally define Gen X, or you're less than impressed with being on the list.
Got it.
All right.
Here we
so
go.
I will do this as I apologize for everyone, but here's the list. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, 1982. Goonies, 85. Breakfast Club, 85. St. Elmo's Fire, 85. Heathers, 88. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, 89. Do the Right Thing, 89. Say Anything, 89. Wayne's World, 92. Dazed and Confused, 93. Reality Bites, 94. Empire Records, 95. And now Clueless, 95. Train Spotting, 1996. And then the number one movie representing Gen Xers, Office Space, 1999. So that is the list of movies. Ed, I'm going to give my first initial impression, then I'm going to give it to you, Ed. I find that the list is pretty good, but kind of backwards. Like I maybe it now that I'm seeing this and read it, maybe it was just not in particular order and just in the years they came out. Because I think some of the first movies are more defining than some of the later ones. But I'll hand it over to you, Ed.
Yeah, Obi. I mean, I remember the first thing you told me was Fast Times should be number one, right? And you're right. This could be in year order. They're not really clear about that. But I will tell you this. I'm not so sure if Fast Times defines Gen Xers, right? Because here's the thing. That's the greatest movie on the list, by the way. And I don't think there's been a rated R comedy made as good as Fast Times since 1982, right? So I'll say that. But it came out in 82. Gen Xers were born, I think, in 64, right? So they're 18 years old at the time when that came out, right?
I think I think a lot of the Gen X, air quoting here, is 64 to 84. So
Yeah. You're right. So I can't. So it's kind of in between. Like a lot of us couldn't even technically legally watch that movie when it came out. So while it's a great movie, and I'll always remember watching it when I was young and Spicoli and all that, I don't know if that movie actually defines Gen Xers. Just as I'm not so sure Clueless defines Gen Xers either. I think most Gen Xers were older, and yeah, we watched it. Okay, we remember that movie. But if we want to talk about ones that define us, I think Office Space, that definitely does, right? Because we were working at that point when that came out. We had our taste. So I think that is there. I think Heathers is one that defines the generation because of our attitude, right? And then, again, whether it defines us or not, I'll go with Say Anything as just an iconic movie with John Cusack holding up that freaking boombox. And because we all made mixtapes for our girls, right? For the girls we wanted. So
right. We made it for everybody. We made it for our girls, our buds, the girls we really wanted, the girls we didn't want, but we wanted people to think,
So I think him holding a boom, first of all, we had boom boxes.
Right.
Other generations didn't have boom boxes. So him holding a boom box with music, I think music meant so much to our generation through the mixtapes and through the boom boxes. I think that movie, maybe out of all 15, I think I got to go with Say Anything is the most defining of Gen X.
So,
and it's all because of one scene, by the way.
Right. I couldn't even tell you what. No. To me, the best movie on this list, one of my all-time favorite top 5 movies, is on this list, and I feel like it defined the generation. The best on the list also is The Breakfast Club. Now, I think the movie is universal. I show it to my kids; they can connect with it, even though they don't have the same different things in high school. They still get, oh yeah, all those cliques still exist, and yes, nobody is one of those cliques, and you can show that universally to everybody. but it's John Hughes who made all of the movies, the teenage movies of our generation. Not all of them, but so many of them. And it's his best film. And it just when I was after college and before I really had a job, I watched that, like I watched it going in high school, I watched it in college, I watched it after college. It is like a personal defining movie to me. Um, so to me, that is the generational defining movie. But I think there's, and then you're right, Office Space hit because we were right there. We were all early in our careers. We were, some of us were still doing, some of us who would go on to have what we would call successful professional careers were still, when that movie came out, flipping burgers. So like
Right.
we were all in there. But the movie that I think just defined us, it doesn't connect the generation, but I think if you ask every Gen Xer, what is the best movie of your younger life, they're all going to say Pulp Fiction. Like, it's one of the greatest movies of all time, and it's a Gen X movie. I mean, we were we were right there in college, so maybe some of the older Gen Xers aren't going to catch it, but still, like, it's, how's it not there? I mean, there's no crime genre films on here at all. So maybe it's like what it feels like to be Gen X. I don't know exactly what the definition of it is because you gave me the list and I didn't read the article. I just scrolled through. But how's that not on the list at all?
Well, it's a great point. Well, I mean, listen, if you're if you know defines a generation, right? So yeah, Pulp Fiction isn't like the life we all lived, right?
Right,
But
right.
I can't say Clueless is the life we all lived, or The Goonies is the life we all lived.
So
So, I think I don't think you're wrong. I would agree. Like Pulp Fiction is, I would say Pulp Fiction's a defining movie. Like, because if you look back, what movie do you remember? And by the way, '94, the youngest Gen Xers were 30. They still were in that movie when that movie came out. There's no way a 30-year-old didn't like that movie. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
I would agree with you. Pulp Fiction is the is. I mean, I'm not sure there was a better movie during our generation.
No. No, so I've read the article a little bit while you were talking.
Well, I should
And
take that back. I shouldn't say there wasn't a better movie. There's been better movies, right? Because
right.
there's other movies that came out, and I know whatever, but it did win Best Picture. But Rocky came out during our generation. Star Wars came out during our generation, but they didn't define the generation.
I think there are maybe movies I like more that came out during our generation, but I think if you take what I like and then you look at what are the greatest movies of all time, I think that Pulp Fiction ends up in like top 10 lists. Like it is just for cinephiles, it's up there. But I did read it a little bit, and it was, I will excuse Pulp Fiction there because it's supposed to be about Gen Xers and the life Gen Xers lived. So I agree with you. I know
But if
nobody
you
who
were a
lived.
gangster, you were a Gen Xer. You telling me that John Travolta wasn't a Gen Xer in that movie?
Oh, I mean, come on, the whole opening scene. We're all like, yeah, we're all gonna go to where the heck was it? Oh my goodness. We're all going to Amsterdam.
That's
Everybody
right.
wanted to go to Amsterdam after that
Well, I
movie.
wanted to go to France and get a Le Crown Royale or whatever, the fucking Royale burger or
Royale with
whatever.
cheese.
Yeah, Royale with cheese. Yeah.
But yeah, so it is about supposedly being that generation, except for Dazed and Confused, where, but even Dazed and
Right.
Confused, they're early Gen Xers.
Yeah, so they broke their whole rule there because even having Dazed and Confused in there, I'm not even sure the freshmen in that movie were born after 64. If 76, they're born, so there wasn't even a Gen Xer in the movie. There wasn't. So
Yeah,
I'm I
yeah,
don't Dazed and Confused. By the way, it was a great movie. I loved it, and I think we related to it because that was the lifestyle we wanted to live in the 90s.
right, right.
But the movie took place in 76 and it was about kids from that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so, so that's why I'm with Say Anything because of the boombox and the music. Fast Times was the best movie on that list. I think how the hell does um the Wayne's World get on there? Now, don't get me wrong. One thing that is I think interesting about our generation that may not be the same with others is Saturday Night Live was a real thing for our generation. Like that was like appointment TV. I remember going to parties and we would sit and watch Saturday Night Live. Well, not sit, but we would stand around and watch Saturday Night Live. during the party, right? And when Wayne's World came on, people stopped and paid attention. But I didn't know anybody like those two idiots. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I did. I knew. I knew those two dudes for sure. And I'm going to tell you that you knew them too because they came and visited me at the house. Like you knew those dudes whether you knew it or not, without a doubt. But I do not know, and that's a great question. I mean, I know my kids have gone in and out of Saturday Night Live, but I think you're right. I think SNL for a youth population peaked for us. You're right. There was these dudes. There was a church lady. There was Hans and Franz. There were just certain skits that you better know come school on Monday. Like if you didn't know certain skits, Dieter's monkey. Wait, what? What
Oh,
do I
Dieter.
miss?
Yeah, Dieter Sprockets. And here's the thing. There was no YouTube to catch up on Sunday morning.
No, you had to stay up and watch it. And then yeah, right.
Or have figured out how to use your VCR.
Right. Which not as
nobody
easy
knew
as
how
TV.
to use that goddamn thing.
Right.
I didn't figure that out until the mid-90s.
Well, because you can't use the VCR because it constantly lost electricity and the clock was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the other movie we didn't give a lot of airplay to here is Heathers. So the interesting thing about Heathers is that that's not the life I lived, obviously, right? Nobody blew up my school. And I don't remember. I wasn't that kid that was filled with angst and anger, right? But apparently, right, Gen X generation is defined by those kids that have angst and anger. So it's interesting that I didn't live in that world, but that's what our generation is supposedly defined by.
So I think I always felt like I lived on the edge of that. Just like I could always imagine getting pushed. Just that one more thing could push me into the full Christian Slater anger level. And again, I definitely knew guys like that. Just like I knew folks like Bill and Ted, and Wayne. Like I knew those guys. But here's the one that I know is right, but a life I didn't live, but I know plenty of people did, is do the right thing. Like that's not the world I lived in, but I knew that world existed. And seeing it on the screen was a different thing altogether.
Yeah, I agree, and I think obviously we're talking about our experience, right? But if you talk about our generation, there's millions of people who had that experience. So you're right.
Right.
And in some ways, that might be the most defining movie on the list for half the people.
For the African Americans, I mean that's the only one that's really going to connect to them, and they're going to feel like it's absolutely the defining one.
Well, that might also stand out. We just listed 15 movies.
Right.
Defined a generation, and one of 15 talks to half of the generation. The other 14 talk to the other half.
Yeah,
kind of interesting.
And it's not half. It's even less than half.
Yeah, right. Yes. But it's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
how that all plays out, right? So the Empire Records one, I didn't like the movie. I saw the movie. I could care less if I ever watch it again. I think the reason it's on there is because of the record store piece of it.
Right.
And here's the thing that listen, the generations older than us get this, but the generations younger than us will never get this. The begging to go to the mall so you can go to the record store.
Right.
That occurred in my house probably on a weekly basis, right? And then just the time you spent in a record store. Even in college, we would go to the record store.
We'd go to Princeton to go to the really good record store, the Princeton Record Exchange. I remember getting in a car and driving down there, drive 45 minutes to go to a particular record store.
So what's crazy about that is I had this whole generational, I guess, intersectionality or I don't know, worlds colliding the other night when so my daughter Sam, she got a Led Zeppelin shirt at Altered State, one of these stores at the mall. Led Zeppelin tour shirt from 1977. So she came home with it. I'm like, do you know Led Zeppelin? And she's like, I heard of them. I'm like, oh my God, they're like one of the greatest bands of all time. I'm like, you should listen to some of their music. I think you might like it. So a couple of days later, course, it's at bedtime. She's like, "Oh, Dad, you want to listen to like some Led Zeppelin? You told me some of the songs are good. What was that song again?" So we sit down, and so here's the crazy thing. I had a night back in 1997 where I was in a strange environment, and I was left. Me and a buddy of mine were left to our own devices in a living room that had a lot of CDs. A lot. Now CDs are beyond records, but a lot of CDs. We spent probably until 4 a.m, just me and this guy going through all these CDs. Like, that's an awesome tune, and we would just put the CD in, play the tune, and then pick another CD, and we're like DJs, right? And we woke up in the morning. We finally passed out, and there was 100 CDs all around the living room. Right, we made a mess. This evening, that Sam tells me, asked me like, "What's that Led Zeppelin song?" She sat at her laptop. I named songs. She just typed on her keyboard, and boom, out came the song. Now, I understand how that happened. I'm not like it wasn't magic, but I mean, it was magical in the fact that we were able to rip through songs. But you lose something when you're not going through the album or the CD case, and you're not looking at it. I don't know. I'm an old Gen Xer, but you lose something.
So, for purposes that we will not discuss on our podcast, but my son has gotten a CD burner. And so in his car that he gets to drive, there's a CD player. So he started making mixed CDs. And now he and I were going to go on vacation. We have a 5-hour drive. He is now making a list of the number one song every year between when I was born and 2022 or 3. I don't know. And the interesting thing is, to make the list, he's just going to do exactly what you said and put it on his phone. But since he likes the idea of burning CDs now, he's also then going to burn the CDs so that we can listen to it via CD player. And he has a thing that he loves about CDs, which I forgot, which is if you turn off your car with a CD in, and you come back and you turn your car on, the CD is exactly where you left it. And I don't know how many times I've had a playlist where I've shut down the playlist and I'm like, what song was I on?
Yeah, you start all over from the beginning.
Yeah, start all over. But there is a movie that I think is missing. There was actually two, but we'll see if the other one comes to my mind as well. That I had the presence of mind to write down, that defines our generation, defines who we were as a generation, and is not on this list at all. And that's Clerks. Like, how is Clerks not on this list?
Clerks is a great one. Anything by Kevin Smith should be on there. Mallrats should be on there.
Right.
I would agree.
Yes.
And let me guess.
Mallrat, we talked about going to the mall and that experience that is like,
oh yeah,
right,
Mallrats should be on there without a doubt.
Yeah.
And not Paul Blart Mall Cop.
No.
But I do have a soft spot for that movie because it's in a mall, and I spent a lot of time in a mall. Obi, you said 2 movies. You said Clerks. What's the other one? Can I guess it?
You can. I'm going to let you guess it.
Singles.
Vegas, baby, Vegas.
Well, no, that's Swingers.
That's the one I was thinking of. Swingers, not Singles.
So Swingers is one as well, but Singles took place in Seattle. Had a whole grunge sound in '92. It came out.
I don't remember that movie.
Kara Sedgwick was in it. Matt Damon was in it. Pearl Jam.
Oh, is that the one where Matt Damon comes? He's on stage.
Rocker.
Yeah.
Bridget Fonda's in it.
Yes.
About the music scene in Seattle in '92. I think that defines our generation too, because that was what was going on.
Yes.
In 1992.
Yes. So,
all right. So we found a website that put out some lists, got us to talk about it. Clearly, they didn't do their research.
I mean, it's a decent list. There's got to be other Spike Lee movies probably on here, or because it's just wrong that there's not. But otherwise, I mean, I'm not going to go down fighting against them on this. But the worst choice was Clueless, and maybe we just had aged out by then. But I don't know. I didn't connect with like. It always still blows my mind that Clueless is like this big deal of a movie. I'm like, really?
We didn't grow up in California, I guess. That's probably what it is, right?
A Valley girl. Valley girl. Okay, I guess. Gag
Maybe.
me with a spoon.
Yeah. So there's our defining movies for the Gen X generation. So if you're a Gen Xer and you stuck with us, love to hear your feedback. What movies did we miss? What about being a Gen Xer makes you proud? Because I'm a proud Gen Xer, Obi.
I don't buy into a lot of the generational BS, especially don't buy into generational wars. But I really get PO'd when people who are on Gen X try to claim they're not. Like they're like, oh, there's this thing called there was this millennial fad. Like, no, you're Gen X or get out. Like, so I am Gen X. I'm born right smack dab in the middle of most Gen X age group design, 64 to 84. I remember being a latchkey kid.
Oh,
I think that may be the most defining thing about our generation is middle class families where two parents work, so kids had to come home and just do whatever we were going to do, and we were allowed out. So we had those
yeah.
two things going for us.
Obi, we were probably the last generation that knew how to ride a bike. Actually, I shouldn't tell you that. Everyone knows how to ride a bike. We were the last generation that actually rode our bikes.
We were the last generation that thought a bike like we didn't need a car because we had a bike.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely, and it was charming. And the charm is that we suck. I'm Obi. That's Ed. Make sure you like and follow us. We'll see you next time. Drinking from the garden hose.